Hi, friends. Welcome to episode 5 of Dysfunction Exposed. I'm Emma J, and as usual, we will need a trigger warning for today's episode. Carrying on where we left off last week, which, you know what, it was quite a cleansing experience to talk about it. And I do feel better for it, even if I was just talking to myself predominantly. But it did make me feel better. So there is method in the madness, clearly. So I'd made this horrible decision because I felt like life just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And if that was it, I didn't want any part of it. There was no future that I could see. Like, I've been saying since I was 14 years old, like, I'll be dead by the time I'm 25. And that's bleak. Like, for a young person to be saying that consistently and thinking that is dark. So fucking dark. Like, you should be thinking about all the opportunities and a future and just all these amazing things. But no, that isn't what was in the cards for me. So I'd gone in the ambulance, I'd got to hospital, they'd pumped me with a load of antibiotics, which I had to take over a course of 3 days. And I had a brief chat with a psychiatrist and they went, yeah, there's not a lot we can do really. We'll send you back to your GP to do, what's it called? To do like a catch up when you need to change your medication or up the dose or whatever. So I was like, right, okay. Not like I hadn't been through that before because that is the system. And that wasn't my first rodeo, if you know what I mean. So I walked away, tail between my legs, went back to where I was, being here. And like I say, I couldn't afford the heating. So where did I end back up? Back at my dad's house. So foolish. Like, but there was that love. Like, he's my dad and I love him, and especially with his dementia getting worse, I was like, how long have I got left with him? All these thoughts are trying to run through your head. But all this has happened, bear in mind, this first season of the podcast happens in less than 12 months. If most people went through this in a lifetime that I'd been through in 12 months, I don't think they would have survived either. Like, props to me. Yay me for still being alive. I've got to laugh because it is dark and it isn't who I am now, and I'm very grateful now that I've learned everything from those experiences that I really needed to learn. But anyway, they'd sent me off, tail between my legs, gone back to my dad's, and I'm questioning the time frame that he's got left because it's getting bad. He doesn't remember things that happened 5 minutes ago. And the weird thing is with vascular dementia, he can remember everything from like his childhood, like his teenagers, up to most of his adult life, even to having me as a kid. But then 5 minutes, nah, gone. He's like a fish. So it was extremely difficult because that was his argument with me as well. When I kept saying, oh, do you not remember doing this? Blah, 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 blah. He'd be like, no, I've got top-notch memory, mate. I can fucking do everything. Very stubborn, old man, that generation. That is my dad down to a T. And I don't know why I was there. I don't know why I chose to go there. I felt this guilt, this ultimate guilt that if this man were to go, he would have no one. Because I was the only one left that was prepared to deal with this man. My siblings had left. All of the wives and girlfriends along the way had left. And it's just me. And how do you mentally cope with the fact that if you don't be there for this person, they have no one in the world? And I couldn't do it. The guilt I felt was, it sat so hard for so long. And that's where the Stockholming situation comes into play, because I love him, he's my dad. But simultaneously, I also hate you because you're a fucking arsehole. You're a bigot. You're an absolute fucking moron. And I don't get your mentality at all. But you're still my dad. And it's difficult for people to try and sit on both sides of the fence, because 9 times out of 10 you can't. Especially when there's other family members involved. In a way, I'm very blessed that I didn't have any other influences, and I've been able to make these decisions based on what's best for me and what's best for me alone. And that is a blessing, because I don't know if it would have been as easy for me to heal if I had different outside influences. But again, I got to a point where the suicidal thoughts had taken over. And within a month of that first suicide attempt, I'd gone again. But this time, I took a stash full of his medication. I sat in my car with it, because I think he might have told me to like fucking get out or something. So I was like, fuck it, bye then. Like, bye, I'm done. I'm done again, I'm done. Very irrational thinking, obviously now, hindsight. But I was sat in the car and I was looking at this medication, and I was probably listening to the Smiths or something as equally depressing, and really relating to Morrissey in this moment. Like, I feel this guy's pain, life is so shit. Fucking Morrissey. But I took them. Again, I took them. It was like they were shouting at me, just fucking do it. Just fucking do it. You don't belong to this planet, Emma. Off you pop. But as soon as I'd taken them, I ended up driving myself to the hospital, because half of me was going, there's got to be more than this. But I've already made that decision. And I was toing and froing with myself. So I got to the hospital. I admitted myself. And basically, that just says it all about the crisis mental health system and the state of the world we're in. People who are in crisis are genuinely in crisis, and they need to be able to communicate effectively. A lot of the time we can't do that, and it takes a long time to get to this point. But a lot of them aren't prepared to listen to the depths that they need to and put a label on it. But we'll loop back into that. So the second time I was on the ward, they pumped me through, pumped all these antibiotics through my system. It took 3 days to do that, to get rid of all the shit that I'd put in there. And they went, you can't talk to the mental health team until you're physically better, which infuriated me, because my physicality wasn't my issue. It was my mentality. And I knew that. and they knew that. But all of this stuff going on, that was the policy. And sometimes it's like professional discretion. Use it. Like, should you really be doing that right now? Probably not. It's wild that someone comes in for hurting themselves because they need mental assistance. And I get, to a degree, you have to look after the physicality, but when I've been sat in a bed for 3 days still pondering on my own thoughts, by day 3 I went, fuck this, fuck you all. I went outside, went back to the car, got more pills that were stashed in there, took a load of them and went, fucking send the mental health team right now. Because the damage is already done. What are you going to do? Wait another 6 days? And as foolish as that was, they got the point. They understood the fucking message. And they sent the mental health team down to come and see me. The hospital was absolutely overrun. Overrun, as most of them were during that period. And do I feel great about the fact that I was sat there occupying that, based on the fact that my brain fucking broke? Now, yeah, I do feel guilty for that. Like, that isn't what that was there for. And then the system infuriates me more because, like I say, you needed to come and talk to me about my mental health. It was never an actual issue with my physicality. But hey ho, that's just my view on it. So they sent the mental health team down, and there was nowhere for us to have a private conversation. Again, I was infuriated. Like, I can't. How are you expecting someone to try and have an open, honest, vulnerable conversation when you're already feeling like shit because you wanted to die? Because that seemed easier. And here we are. There's just no regard for that at all. We ended up having a conversation, me and the guy from the psychiatry team, in a staff kitchen on a ward in Stepping Hill Hospital. Fucking my head fell off. When I tell you my head fell off and it rolled down the bastard hill, mate, that's exactly what it did. And it was already picked up and thrown a pitch worth away. How my mental health could have possibly been worse in that situation. There you go. There you go. That is it. That is exactly what happened. So we ended up having a conversation that led to me getting very frustrated, very irate, very angry that I couldn't even have a conversation with a professional in a suitable environment. But I'm just going to keep going round in this circle, aren't I? Until I eventually just die. That was my thought process. Like, all right, fail once, fail twice, get to attempt number 5, fail again. Like, I'm not very good at this. Clearly not very good at this. And thankfully I'm not. But it's crazy to me that at that point, the man from the team was like, well, there's not really a lot we can do either. We could just outsource it to the community team. Okay. But I've told you, when I'm on my own, that's when the intrusive thoughts come. That's when I want to hurt myself. And this professional's just looking at me like, well, you seem pretty with it to me. Like, you're okay. You're one of the better ones, don't worry. Okay. And this is where intelligence is a bit of a blessing and a curse, because you're like, I can see exactly what's fucking happening. and I don't agree with it one bit. And you clearly can't do anything unless it's taken to the extreme. And that's really bizarre to think about. Like, it shouldn't have to get to those points, those levels where people don't want to be here anymore. It's shitty. And I feel for anyone who's ever been in that position once, let alone multiple times. And hopefully, listening to someone who's been through it understands that process, understands that you get no fucking help in that system whatsoever. I get it. And I'm here to talk about it because it's not right and it's not fair and it's not okay. And then we go, oh, let's get Britain talking and all the rest of the shit. It's not playing out like that though, is it? No, it's not. And someone needs to do something about it. So, hi. So when they said it could go to the community team, obviously I kicked off. And I had to stay on that ward for about an extra 9 hours. About 2:00 in the morning, they came to get me. And that was the day I was placed on a psychiatric unit. And I'm going to get into that next week. Yeah, I'm going to save that for next week. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm Emma J. This has been Dysfunction Exposed. And I'll see you next week.